Where do you draw the line between empathy and what I would consider as people pleasing at the cost of your own mental health? Because it is a slippery slope, is it not? I understand that during conflict, a lot of the times, that it's not always isolated to just the conflict alone, although, ideally it should be. But I understand it's not. I understand that a lot of the times there might be many pre existing triggers that people hold in their lives. If they grew up a certain way, if they had faced trauma in the past, there are many things that can trigger other people. For example, some people are really afraid of loud arguments. They cannot stand the idea of people yelling at them. There are some people that are really afraid of silence. They were brought up in an environment which causes them to really fear silence because it was used as a way of punishment or used as a way of isolating someone. I understand all that. But where is the line? Is it reasonable for me to expect, if I were to be, say, someone who was afraid of silence, is it reasonable for me to expect that if I have clearly communicated, hey, I am afraid of silence, I am afraid of these kind of things, they trigger me, and I need to know that things are okay. Is it reasonable for me to expect that someone who loves me and is aware of my fear of silence would be willing then to go the extra mile to not use it against me? Because here's the thing of empathy, right? I know that most of the time in conflict between people who love one another, harm is never really intentional. You never set out with, or at least I hope, you never set out with the goal of, hey, what can I do to cause the most harm to this person? That's never really the goal. It's always unintentional conflict from miscommunication or, differing conflict styles. But I still feel, because to me it's pretty simple, if someone were to tell me, hey, I am afraid of silence, I would still think, even if I did need space, it's possible for me to communicate it, right? To reassure the other person that, hey, I need space right now, but this is not something that I'm trying to use to punish you. This silence is because I need space, and this is something that I need to process on my own, or to say words of reassurance being like, hey, I do love you. And I think this is especially true if my whoever I'm in conflict with were to tell me, hey, if you need space, please say these things to me. Please tell me that you need space. Don't just go silent. Please tell me that you still love me. Don't just go silent. Please tell me that you will reach out when you are feeling better. Don't just go silent. If someone I loved would have said this to me and we were to enter into conflict, I think it wouldn't even be a question for me of whether or not I would do that, because to me that seems like the most important part of everything, right? And to me that is the way I understand empathy, because I understand that people have differing conflict styles, and I don't think that's an issue. I don't think that's something that needs to be solved per se. It's not something that is like, hey, you don't deal with this the same way I do, you should change. That's not true. That's not the case. I think it's completely fine for people to have differing conflict styles, but then why is it so rare for people to understand that? Even when it comes to people we love, why is it so hard for people to say, oh, hey, you did this, and I now understand that you have this, this fear, this trauma, and I'll try my best to work around it. Is it unreasonable to assume that people would try for the people they love. Because I was brought up as someone who I was taught at a young age to not give and expect something in return. I do things for the people I love because I love them. I do things for the people that I love because I feel it's the right thing to do. I don't do things and expect a benefit in return because, more often than not, you will be disappointed, whether it be a lack of effort or just a misunderstanding of what you want, right? I don't do that. However, at the same time, when you keep giving and you keep giving and you keep giving, it does get tiring, doesn't it? Because, like it or not, as a human being, I feel like I have a baseline expectation of what things are right, what things are proper, what things are reasonable. But I feel recently I've come to question that more and more because I thought that if you were to tell someone your scars, your weaknesses, what triggers you, that someone would then in turn respect that, even when things get tough. In this case, if it is about silence, even when things get tough, I thought, to me, it's not that hard to send a message over and be like, hey, things are alright. I need some time. I am tired. I need some time. I still love you, but I do need some time alone, and I will reach out when I'm fine. Because to me, I feel like a hypocrite here, right? Because I keep saying I give without expecting anything in return. But in this case, to me, it's like, hey, if I knew that just one word or one message from me would be able to relieve a massive amount of someone's anxiety or stress, it would not even be a question of whether or not I want to do it. I might be feeling terrible, but if I knew that sending a message would help someone that I love feel a lot better about everything, it would not even be a question to me. I would do it without hesitation. And to me, that's a part of empathy, right? A part of loving someone, a part of understanding that someone has a different conflict style and trying to adjust yourself even if you don't understand it. If I knew that someone was very easily overwhelmed, I would try my best to give them space. I would say, hey, look, I'm here when you want to talk. I am willing to talk about things. I am happy to talk about things when you are ready. And this is especially true if this someone has already mentioned to me, hey, this is what I need when it comes to a conflict. If someone has already said, hey, when we are in conflict, please just show that you're here to talk whenever I'm ready. I would do that without question. So it strikes me as puzzling sometimes, like why people aren't just willing to do that. I guess it seems a little, just doesn't make sense to me, because to me, if I did love someone and I did know this about someone, know that they need this sort of reassurance in a conflict, and I did actually love them, then it's not even a question for me of, do I want to do it, or do I need to do it? But it's more of a, oh well, yep, this person I love, I'm in a conflict with them. I might not see eye to eye with them at the moment, but I know this is what reassures them, because the goal of the conflict is not to win or lose, right? The goal of the conflict is to resolve it and move forwards together. So it just strikes me as weird, because this has happened way too many times now with way too many different people, where I bare my heart out and I tell people my weaknesses, but nothing. I feel always disappointed. I feel always quite underwhelmed whenever we do enter conflict about how people just don't care. Is it unreasonable? I don't know, because I know I'd do it in a heartbeat. It doesn't seem unreasonable for me that my friends or partner or parents or family would expect that I would be able to understand their scars. It does not seem unreasonable to me for them to expect that. But at the same time, I don't want to be a hypocrite and expect them to have the same thought as me. So I'm really just struggling. I'm really puzzled, and I don't know if I would find an answer to this, because most of the time I just end up thinking, well, I should have stayed quiet. I should have not said anything. I should have just continued to please. And that's how I feel most of the time. But if you've watched this long and you do resonate with what I say, or if you have any advice, please let me know. I'm just trying to get by.